If you're investing into dividends, you need to be aware that they could be adding significant cost to your taxes. For those that don't know, dividends are a payment that a company gives to its shareholders for owning its stock, where you could buy one stock that pays you a certain amount of dividends, or you could get a fund that contains many different stocks all within one purchase. A great example of this that I'm going to be using throughout the video is a popular dividend ETF that is the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, ticker SCHD, where you can see the qualified dividend income from this ETF is 100%. This is extremely important to know, so let's go over the first topic that's going to be qualified versus non-qualified dividends. Now, qualified dividends are ones paid by US companies or select foreign companies that meet specific IRS requirements, and if they do qualify, they're going to be taxed at the long-term capital gains rate that is 0, 15, or 20%. Now, it's important to understand that the taxes you're going to be actually charged are going to be based on your taxable income. So let's say you're single and have a taxable income of $45,000. That means any dividends that took part in that income would be taxed at 0%. So let's just say $5,000 of that income was from dividends. You'd be taxed 0% on that $5,000, which this same concept applies whether you're married filing jointly, separately, or you're head of household. It all depends on your taxable income as well. And even though the previous example is taxed at 0%, as you build a larger portfolio, you're going to end up having to pay some sort of taxes. For example, if you are a single filer that has a total income of $300,000, let's say $50,000 of that was from dividend income, that would all be taxed in the 15% tax bracket. But something else you need to be aware of as you build up a portfolio and your income rises is the net investment income tax, where you are going to be charged an additional 3.8% tax if you are single and have an income over $200,000. So in reality, with the example mentioned, you would have to pay 18.8% taxes on the $50,000 dividend income. And as you can see right here, the numbers are different based on your filing status. So if you're married filing jointly, that number is $250,000. But if this were non-qualified dividends, you would be taxed at the 35% tax bracket because it is going to be based on your ordinary income rate. And not just that, whether it's qualified or non-qualified dividend income, you are going to have to pay the additional 3.8% tax. So that is actually going to be 38.8% in taxes. All in all, just understand the difference between qualified and non-qualified dividends for this example would be paying 18.8% of taxes, or more than double that at 38.8%. Also, just be aware that these are generic applications. It does not include state or local taxes. And just so you have a better idea, many of the investments that are through the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange are going to be providing qualified dividends, but there are a few exceptions I'll discuss later in the video. But some of the ones you've probably heard of are Apple, Coca-Cola, or Procter & Gamble that all pay qualified dividends. And then for those looking to invest into funds, I highly recommend you look into the qualified dividend income percentage, because many options have a portion qualified and they're not going to be fully 100% qualified. But as you can see here, SCHD and the Schwab US Large Cap Growth ETF SCHG are both 100%, and you can see others that are not. Another resource I like to look at are Vanguard's ETFs because I own many of them. So if this interests you, I'll leave a link in the description below. But right here you can see VOO has a 95% qualified dividend income percentage, then VGT is 100%, then the popular Vanguard High Dividend Yield ETF, ticker VYM, has an estimated 99% qualified dividend income. The calculations for the taxes will be automatically distributed for you, but all this means is that 1% of the dividends from VYM are going to be taxed at the ordinary income rate. Another example of an option that would make more sense on why it would have a lower qualified dividend income percentage would be Vanguard's Total International ETF VXUS that has an 80% qualified dividend income percentage. I'm saying all this just to inform you on how exactly this works, but the biggest thing you need to be aware of are the ones that are not qualified. For example, REITs, which are real estate investment trust companies, are not going to provide qualified dividends due to their investment structure. Other ones that do not are foreign companies that do not meet the comprehensive income tax treaty with the requirements of the IRS. Then another one that's really important are the investments that use hedging strategies to provide the dividend income to its shareholders. Two popular examples of this are the monthly dividend ETFs that are JEPI and JEPQ, where they both generate income through stock dividends, but also their option strategies. So like I said, these ETFs pay out their dividends monthly, and you can also see they have a solid yield between 6%, even up to to a 10% yield. Although these investments have a lower overall return than their underlying index, if you are one looking solely for dividend income, they could be an ideal strategy to actually take advantage of, but more on that later. Which that reminds me, before I move on to anything else in this video, with dividend investments, the most important thing to look at is not the dividend yield, but the actual return you're going to get from the entire fund. This is because if the investment had a 10% dividend yield, but a 5% annual return, that means if you didn't reinvest the dividends, the investment would have returned a negative 5% for your portfolio, which means it's continuously losing money. Where if you had a 5% dividend yield, but a total annual return of 10%, that's much better, because even if you took the 5% dividend yield from your investment instead of reinvesting it, then you would have still grown your portfolio 5%. Moving on from there, another important thing you need to be aware of is how you can actually get the qualified dividends to be considered qualified for the long-term capital gains rate. So in order to qualify, you must own the investment for a 121-day holding period, which means you must have owned the dividend investment 60 days before the ex-dividend date. For those that don't know, the ex-dividend date is one business day before the record date, which is the date you are recognized as an official shareholder to get the dividend payment. And to go over exactly how this works, say the ex-dividend date for the investment was March 3rd of 2020. That means you would have had to own the investment before January 3rd of 2020, so you would have had to actually purchase the investment and own it before the market closed on January 2nd. And from there, you can't just sell the investment after the ex-dividend date. You must hold onto it for an additional 60 days to officially make it a qualified dividend. These are pretty much the guidelines so that no one takes advantage of the dividend payments or even affecting the demand of the stock's price on the market significantly. So what I'd say the easiest way to go about this is to just buy the right investments that you know are going to be qualified, hold it long term, and you don't need to worry about this rule. Now, just to be completely transparent, the two strategies I'm about to show you are the only ones, as of my knowledge right now, that I would use for dividend investing myself. And if you have any other ideas that you think are better, let me know in the comment section below. But the first strategy is really simple, and that is to use strong qualified dividends for growth in a taxable account. If you ever plan to build a dividend income portfolio, building one with strong qualified dividends where they can see growth and still get you a yield just makes the most sense to me. Like I said, you don't want to go for just the high yield dividend investments because they're more than likely not going to be strong companies that will be able to sustain growth for your underlying investment. Now, you could pick select individual companies, but I would keep that at a minimum if you're going to, because I believe overall ETFs are the way to go. Which the simplest example I'm going to use for this video is SCHD, the Schwab US Equity ETF, where it comes at a 0.06% expense ratio, which means for every $10,000 invested, you're only paying $6 a year in fees, which is really low. And even with that, SCHD over the past 12 months has yielded a 3.39% dividend yield, and at the same time annualized a return of 17.06%. That includes dividends being reinvested into the fund and the expense ratio factored into it. On top of that, this investment is known as a king of dividend ETFs because since 2011, which was its inception, when it was publicly created, it has averaged a 12.92%. Yes, there are many more factors you could look into and compare this among many different funds, but to keep things simple, we're going to use this, and as I showed you on the Charles Schwab page, it has a 100% qualified dividend income percentage. So using this, let's say you and your spouse filed taxes together, and 5 years ago, you were able to put $10,000 into an investment account where you both placed $500 a month into the account. For example purposes, let's just say you invested it all into SCHD, where you reinvested the dividends because you wanted the portfolio to grow significantly. Well, if you were to do this, your portfolio by the year of 2023 would now be at $104,000. Knowing this, let's just say that on the year of 2023, you and your spouse decided to take the dividend income instead of reinvesting it, which means for that year, you would have taken in an extra $3,326 from dividend income. Going forward with that, let's just say that you and your spouse had a taxable income combined of $110,000 for the year of 2023, which includes the $3,326 from dividend income. Now, I'm obviously not a tax expert, but if you were married filing jointly for the year of 2023, you could get a standard deduction of $27,700. If you subtract that from your total income, that would be $82,300 for the year, and that would put you in the tax bracket of paying 0% for qualified dividends, which means on your $3,326 of dividend income, you would have paid zero taxes on it. Just be aware, if this were any non-qualified dividends like JPI or JPQ, that would have been taxed at the ordinary income rate, which would have been 12%. Even though the rate will be better than non-qualified dividends, you're still going to have to pay some taxes. Where the next strategy I'm about to show you, which is my favorite, you can avoid that entirely, and it just makes the most sense in order to get dividend income, and that is through a Roth IRA. Now, for those that don't know what a Roth IRA is, you're pretty much going to be putting money that is already taxed up front, where you can invest it and allow it to grow tax-free. And then once you are above the age of retirement, which is 59 and a half, you can withdraw it if you want, completely tax-free. The reason this is the best one is because if you were to use a traditional IRA, you would have to pay taxes on the dividend income when you were to withdraw at retirement, which this is also the exact same concept for a traditional 401k, so just be aware. But another option I would recommend to take full advantage of, if you can use it, would be an HSA. An HSA is a health savings account, and it sounds like you can't benefit from it greatly, but you actually are going to be getting triple tax advantages from using this account, meaning you're not paying taxes on the front end during the years of growing investments. And yes, you can grow investments and invest in this account, and then you're not going to get taxed on any of the withdrawals at the end, but you do have to use the money for qualified medical expenses. So how I would look at this to take full advantage is a Roth IRA is for any wants and needs in your future for any expenses, and then use an HSA if you can for a health retirement investing account for any of your health related expenses. That way you don't need it from a Roth IRA or any other source if you do this properly. I will say, if you can truly take advantage of both of those, your future self will thank you 100 times over, which if you are interested, I'll leave relevant videos similar to this in the description below for you to check out after the video. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for future content. But for this strategy with a Roth IRA, the ideal steps to potentially live off of dividends one day would be to, first off, make money where you can save enough for the max contributions that would be $7,000 per year. With the money, invest into the highest growth yet safest growth potential opportunities like the S&P 500 or any other growth funds that interest you. From there, just consistently repeat this process and act as if you don't even have the account until retirement. And then once you reach 60, you could withdraw any of the amount, but unless you need it, I would not advise to do so, because you could just let the money continue growing. Which, by the way, unlike traditional IRAs, there are no RMDs, which are required minimum distributions, meaning you do not have to pull out any money from your Roth IRA no matter what age you are. My favorite part about this entire thing is, say you're at the point where you're in retirement, you want dividend income, or say you need the income, you can change the investments in the fund to dividend earning income opportunities, where they could be solid ones or they could be even high earning ones like monthly income ETFs where the taxes don't even matter. And with high yield dividend income opportunities that are strong companies, you'd be able to sustain growth while taking tax-free income, where you can potentially live off this until the rest of your life. Before I explain exactly how you could do this in a real world example, another thing to mention is that you can see right here that investments like REITs and balanced funds are the best place to take advantage of in a tax advantaged account like a Roth IRA. So as you can see, a recent post on my newsletter, which if you want to check out, I'll have a link in the description below for you. But let's say you're 30, you make money and you can contribute the max into the Roth IRA and invest into high growth funds. You do this for 30 years until you're 60, and you average a 10% return. If you take this exact approach, and if you're younger, even better, but you would be able to generate a $1.27 million portfolio by the age of 60. And like I said, you don't even have to use this account yet. You could wait until you're 65 or 70, it doesn't matter. But say you're at the point of wanting dividend income, you could change those investments to ones like JPI or JPQ, where you would have been able to generate $131,564 from dividend income alone that year, completely tax-free. Which, by the way, if we convert that to monthly, that is $10,963, and even with inflation, that's still a good amount of money. Now, say you were doing this in a taxable account because you didn't know about the Roth IRA, or you just didn't care to do so. Let's just say that you're single and you were able to do the standard deduction, which would change in the future, but right now it's $14,600. That means you would be taxed as ordinary income $116,964 if you were to use these monthly income ETFs. And just to show you exactly how this is calculated, here's the real manual proof of doing the calculations, where it would end up costing you an extra $21,000 per year in taxes. To prioritize the fact of investing over $500 a month into this account to truly be able to do this, I think is well worth it, and if you have the right mindset, I believe anyone can achieve it. Besides that, say you're like me and still want to sustain growth, you could add a third investment, that is the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF SCHD, which with this, you would have still achieved $102,000 of tax-free dividend income in the year while being assured growth is sustained. Please understand that this is just a generic approach. I am just trying to show you the benefits of how you could go about this concept and not from the actual investments. I am not a financial advisor, and you must do your own research when it comes to doing so. I truly believe that realizing the opportunity ahead makes it more intriguing to actually want to take this approach, and if you have the right mindset for it, I believe anybody could actually achieve this. If you want me to make a video on this entire strategy, or if you have any questions at all, let me know in the comment section below. And if you're interested, I'll leave links in the description below to other relevant videos that I've created for you, as well as other free resources that I think you could greatly benefit from. Which, while you're at it, if you are looking to start a new investment account, some of the ones I'd recommend starting would be Webull, where if you sign up using the link in the description below, you can get over $60 worth of free stock when you make your first deposit. And then M1 Finance, you can also get a $100 cash bonus if you deposit over $10,000 into the account. If you're looking for a Roth IRA, I use and highly recommend a Fidelity Roth IRA, which I've made a video on, and you can click right here. And as always, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notifications button for future content like this.